All right, well, moving on, domestic airfares in India are seeing a spike. Fares of some of the key routes have increased by as much as 15 to 30% over just the last 2 to 4 weeks. In fact, the industry experts have said that the war has led to a price rise in crude oil globally, which has also impacted the aviation sector with costlier jet fuel as well. Well, those are the details at this point in time. In fact, the other big reason is that there is an increased demand for air travel across the country, which has also contributed to the rising prices. So a host of reasons as to why we are seeing this kind of increase in prices as well. Remember, COVID cases are now nearing 2-year lows. So more and more people are traveling, whether it's for work or for leisure, over the last few weeks. And that demand has also gone up, which is why we are seeing a rise in domestic airfares as well. Hina is joining us for more details. Hina, this is obviously a combination of factors which is at work here that has contributed to the rise in domestic flights.
Well, you will recall we had discussed this issue a couple of days ago when the government of India decided to, resume normal international air travel from 27th of March. At that time, Avni, we had this discussion that, when the normal international air travel resumes, then, of course, there's going to be more supply than the current demand, and airfares are expected to come down. So that is the reason why today it's being said that post 27th of March, when we will have more options, more flights available for people who would like to travel from India to other parts of the world, then the international ticket prices are expected to come down. But the situation as far as domestic ticket prices is concerned is not looking very good right now because of the continuous surge in crude oil prices and the uncertainty that still exists. Now, we have seen over the past few weeks there has been a significant hike in jet fuel prices, which is about 30 to 40% of the ticket price that we pay if we plan to travel anywhere by air. So imagine if fuel prices have gone up, and that is going to have a direct impact on our domestic ticket prices, and that is exactly what we are witnessing right now. So post 27th of March, when there's going to be more supply in terms of more flights that will get added for the international air travel, for domestic air travel things will remain as it is, and that is the reason why it is being said that what will really happen post 27th of March, because our domestic airfare currently is quite high. It's rising almost on a daily basis. We'll have to see whether there's going to be any kind of intervention from the government side, the way it happened in March in 2020, wherein the government introduced price bans. The government had told airlines to not go beyond a certain level, and also lower than a certain level. So there was a lower cap and a higher cap that airlines were asked to adhere to. Now slowly that was being phased out. So we'll see what really the government will have to say, because for the middle class this is clearly a cause of concern, the way ticket prices are quite high right now.
Absolutely, Hina. Thank you so much for joining us and breaking that down at this point in time. Let's in fact bring in another voice here. Subhash Goyal, tourism expert, is joining us on the broadcast as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Goyal, for speaking to us. Speaking first about the domestic, flights and the airfares that we are seeing right now, it has seen a considerable rise over the last few weeks. And there are a, host of factors at play. Of course, the rising prices of crude oil across the globe, plus importantly, the demand also that we are seeing, which has increased significantly.
So you see, all airfares all over the world in all airlines are dependent on the crude oil, because ATF, which is the aviation turbine fuel, is about 30% to 40% of the direct operating cost of the airline. So if the crude prices go up, airfares automatically go up. And secondly, yes, there was pent-up demand and people have started, traveling, what we call revenge travel. So as far as domestic airlines are concerned, the domestic airfares are actually going up with a bang. So, but as far as international airfares are concerned, they had also gone up because of, suddenly government closing the flights except air bubble. But now from 27th, of this month of March, they will be, increasing, scheduled international flights will start. So instead of 60 flights, there will be 105 airlines which will be operating, and a few thousand flights will be there every week. So airfares are bound to come down. They would have come down by substantially about by 50-60%, but because of the crude oil, the invasion uh, uh, of by Russia of Ukraine, so the oil prices are going to go up, and if the oil prices are up, then it will be very difficult, for the airlines to maintain the fares. Although because of competition, we will see from 27th of this onwards, when the scheduled international flights start, there will be a decline in fares. And for those countries like the Middle East countries, which have sufficient, which are exporters of oil and ATF, aviation turbine fuel, so those countries might be the cheapest to travel on. But otherwise, airfares are bound to go up. And for domestic, if the new airlines which are planned to touch the Indian skies, if they start like Jet Airways and Akasa Airways and one or two other operators, then if the supply increases, then the prices might again come down. So basically, it's the simple economic law of demand and supply. If the demand is more and supply is less, prices are up. If the supply is more and demand is less, then prices come down.
Right. And when we
It's a
talk
simple
about
law.
yes, absolutely. But when we talk about international flights specifically, now, of course, it is going to go back to the pre-COVID kind of, schedules that have been. So supply is going to increase on that front. But at the same time, the crude oil rise that we have seen in prices is also going to be at play. How is that aspect going to pan out? Will one offset the other?
No, you see, the airfares, for example, I'll give you an example. The excursion fare from India to Toronto was about 50 to 60,000 rupees. But because of this air bubble, it was being sold at 1.5 lakh rupees, and even business class was being sold at 3 lakh rupees.
Yes.
So now, instead of that, the fares will come down. They won't come down to 50,000. They'll definitely come down to about 90,000 or 1 lakh. It will be much cheaper than what it was during the air bubble days. But if the crude prices had not gone up, then it would have come to pre-COVID levels of 50, 60,000 rupees. But now the ATF crude oil factor will have to be taken into consideration. So this is what it's going to be.
All right. Subhash Goyal, thank you so much for joining us with your perspective.